Good evening. Whoa. Um, Members of the committee, applicants, agents, staff, and members of the public, I will now call the Committee of Adjustment meeting for September the 15th, 2022 in order. As this meeting is being held virtually, I will remind you that the meeting is being recorded and streamed live via the Brant County YouTube account. Committee of Adjustment members joining online should use the camera throughout the meeting so the applicants, agents, and members of the public can identify the voting members, and we can confirm you are present throughout the meeting. Planning staff will be requested to join the meeting during the presentations and will be available to answer questions. Applicants, agents, owners, and delegations that are participating virtually, all persons wishing to speak to the items on the agenda are required to register prior to the meeting. Any comments, questions, concerns received in written format have been provided to the members of the committee and will form the meeting record. Applicants, agents, and members of the public, please ensure that your cameras are off, your microphones are on mute throughout the meeting. When called upon to speak, please remember to unmute your microphone and turn on your camera before speaking. Those presenting in delegations have 10 minutes to speak to the application at hand and not past applications or associated applications. In the event of a connection service or a service disruption or occurring that affects the quorum of the Committee of Adjustment, we may recess the meeting for up to 15 minutes to regain quorum. If quorum is not achieved, then the meeting will be adjourned. The meeting is held in accordance to the Planning Act. The purpose of the meeting is to discuss minor variances, consent applications, and given anyone in attendance the opportunity to ask questions, provide comments related to this application. Notice of this meeting was provided by mail and signs posted by staff as required by the Planning Act. A copy of the meeting agenda, including the staff's report relating materials and comments received, are available on the County of Brant website. If the committee deems it appropriate, they will make a decision tonight. Each committee decision is final following a 20-day appeal period. For those that are in the audience, please note there's a sign-in sheet at the entrance if you're attending the meeting and wish to be notified of any decision from this evening. Kindly note your name and address on the application sheet. If you do not request a copy on the sign-in sheet, you will not be notified. The names of those individuals who speak on any item tonight will appear within the meeting minutes. Anyone wishing to receive further notice of or a copy of the committee's decision, please contact the County of Brant Planning Department. The order for the delegations as we go through each of the things tonight: planning and staff report and recommendations, the applicant or agent presentation, questions and discussions, public comments, further discussions for clarification, and a decision. Immediately following the Committee of Adjustment meeting, this meeting will be hearing 2 fence variance applications at the end of the Committee of Adjustment meeting. All right, we're going to go to the agenda now. Item number 1 is attendance. Please indicate by stating present if you are in attendance. Harry Emmett.
Present.
David Zuloff. You present?
Daniel Zuloff. Present.
Thank you. Steve Schmidt.
Present.
John Vamus.
Present.
Bob Hamilton. Present. Mary Jane Brown and Rebecca Smith are not available tonight. Approval of the agenda. We will move to item 2 now, approval of the agenda. Do any members have items to be added to the agenda. May I request then a mover and a seconder? Mr. Schmidt? Mr. Emmett? Okay, Steve, go ahead.
It's moved by myself and seconded by Member Emmett that the agenda for the County of Brant Committee of Adjustment meeting of September 15th be approved.
Thank you. Members, please indicate if you're in favor of the motion, starting with Member Emmett.
Yes.
Member Zuloff?
Yes.
Member Vamus?
Yes.
Member Schmidt?
Yes.
Member Hamilton? Yes. We will accept that resolution for the agenda for tonight. Number 3, declaration of pecuniary interest. Are there any members who would like to declare a conflict of interest for any of the items on the agenda this evening? If yes, please indicate as in stating your name and the application number.
Yes, Member Zuloff. I've got a conflict with the two fence variance applications, FV1 22AA and FV2 22LG.
Thank you. All right, moving to item 4, adoption of minutes from previous meeting. Do the committee members have any errors or omissions to note of the minutes that were circulated? And do we have a mover and a seconder for this motion? Member Zuloff? Member Vamus?
Moved by myself and seconded by Member Vamus that the minutes from the County of Brant Committee of Adjustment meeting of July 21st, 2022 be approved.
Thank you, Member Zuloff. All right, I will now call for those in favor. Member Emmett?
Yes.
Member Zuloff?
Yes.
Member Vamus?
Yes.
And Member Schmidt?
Yes.
Member Hamilton? Yes. That has been carried, and the minutes have been approved for the July 21st meeting. All right. I will now introduce item 6.1, application SV5-22-LG, and turn it over to staff for the presentation of the report and the recommendation.
Good evening, Committee of Adjustment and members of the public. This is a sign variance application for lands located at 150 Markle Drive within the Geographic Township of Brantford. The subject lands are located on the north side of Highway 403, west of Pot Rough Road, and south of Markle Drive. The overall development on these lands was subject to site plan control in 2021. As such, the lands are subject to a registered development agreement, and construction on the site is still underway. The surrounding land uses include commercial and industrial land uses to the north and west, which have yet to be developed, resource extraction land uses to the east, and Highway 403 corridor to the south. The applicant is requesting relief from Section G, subsection G3, maximum area per sign face of the sign bylaw 12108 to permit a sign face area of 19.2 square meters, whereas a maximum sign face area of 10 square meters is permitted within industrial areas. The applicant is proposing one fascia sign on the south elevation oriented towards Highway 403. The fascia sign placement is in accordance with Ford's branding standards. The subject lands are designated Employment Site-Specific Policy Area 16 within the County of Brant official plan and located within the primary urban settlement boundary of Paris. The subject lands are currently zoned Special Exception Light Industrial M233 within the County of Brant zoning bylaw 6116. No public comments were received as part of the public circulation. As a result of the upcoming sign bylaw review, staff is of the opinion that the request is in keeping with the overall intent of the sign bylaw, in keeping with the general intent and purposes of the official plan. The request is minor in nature and will not negatively impact adjacent land uses. I am recommending approval of sign variance application SV 522 LG. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Does the committee have any questions or comments to staff? Appears there isn't. Is the agent or applicant present to make a presentation or add any details to this request?
Yes, I am present. Seema Gusabe. I'm the applicant and agent on behalf of Ford from Burlington Signs National.
Okay. Do you have any additional comments then?
Nope, everything that was mentioned was correct. Yeah, there's no additional comments.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Are there any questions for the agent or applicant? Okay. I do not believe there's a public delegation for this one. So are there any final questions or comments to staff or the agent or applicant from the committee? Okay, if not, then I request a mover and a seconder to put a motion forward, please. Member Emmett, Member Schmidt.
Moved by myself, seconded by Member Schmidt, that application SV 5-22-LG be approved.
All right. Would members please indicate if they're in favor of the motion? Member Emmett?
Yes.
Member Zuloff?
Yes.
Member Amos?
Yes.
Member Schmidt?
Yes.
Member Hamilton? Yes. This application has been approved. All right, moving on to the next one. I will introduce item 6.2, application B 66-22-LG, and turn it over to staff for a presentation and a report and recommendation.
This is a consent application for lands located at 274 Pot Rough Road within the Geographic Township of Brantford. The subject lands are located towards the east of Rest Acres Road, west of Pot Rough Road, and south of Powerline Road. The future lots will be fronting on George Briar Drive West and George Briar Drive East. The subject lands are under construction and are expected to be conveyed to future owners in December 2022. The subject lands are comprised of the Paris Meadows subdivision, which received draft plan approval and a zoning bylaw amendment approval in July of 2019. The subject lands are on municipal services. The consent application proposes the creation of side yard and rear yard access easements for street fronting townhouse units. The access easements are technical as they will permit future owners to access their rear yard. The proposed side yard easements are 1.2 meters and rear yard easements are 1.5 meters and are to be maintained free and clear of obstructions or structures. The parcels have yet to be conveyed to future owners and no additional development is proposed as part of this application. The subject lands are designated as urban residential and natural heritage and are located within an area identified as the primary urban settlement boundary of Paris. The subject lands have approved draft plan of subdivision, and the proposed easements will not result in the creation of new building lots. The easements are solely for technical reasons as they will permit future owners to access their rear yards. The subject lands are zoned as special exception residential multiple low density RM137. No public comments were received as part of the public circulation. I am recommending approval of this consent application B6622LG as the establishment of the access easements are technical, minor in nature, compatible with surrounding land uses. The application is in conformity with the policies of the growth plan for the Greater Golden Horseshoe and consistent with the policies of the provincial policy statement. The application is in conformity with the general intent of the policies of the official plan and zoning bylaw. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Does the committee have any questions or concerns of what the staff has presented? All right. Is the agent applicant present to make a presentation or add any details to this request?
Yes, I am. I'm Eric Solislav, GSP Group. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right. Okay. Yeah, I've reviewed the staff report and listened to the presentation, and we're in full agreement with the recommendation therein. And I'm available to answer any questions that committee may have.
Thank you. Does the committee have any questions or concerns for the agent applicant? I do have a question myself, and that is the easement is there. Is it at the back of the lot line or is it right behind the buildings? It's hard to differentiate when you look at the picture. And the reason I ask that question, does that then inhibit any of the people that own that to build a small deck or anything in their backyard with that easement being there?
All right. Well, I can indicate that there are at the rear lot lines of the along the rear lot line of the building lots. They aren't within the building footprint of the townhouses, and they're the ones at the side lot lines are in between the different townhouse buildings.
Okay, yeah, it was just when you look at the one picture showing along power line there, all you see is just the openness, and I just wondered where the easement was going, if it was going at the back end of the lot line or right behind the footprint, as you say, of the building. So that was I just looking for clarification.
Okay, well, if you want, I can share my screen and point out where it is, but if my response is sufficient for your purposes, then I don't have to share my screen.
No, that's fair then. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
Are there any final questions or comments from staff or the agent from the committee? Appears not to be. Then I would request a mover and a seconder to put forward a motion on this application. Member Zuloff, seconder. Member Schmidt.
Okay, moved by myself and seconded by Member Schmidt. That application B66-2LG be approved because it's technical in nature and consistent with the growth plan and zoning bylaws and official plan.
Thank you. All right, I will now call the vote. Members indicate if they're in favor of the motion or not. Member Emmett?
Yes.
Member Zuloff?
Yes.
Member Vamus?
Yes.
Member Schmidt?
Yes.
Member Hamilton? Yes. This motion has been carried and it's now completed as requested.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, moving on. I will now introduce item 6.3, application B47-22SL, and turn it over to staff for the presentation, report, and recommendations.
An application has been received from agent Douglas Stewart on behalf of property owner Sherman Richardson. This is a severance for lands located at 301 Brant County Road 18 within the Geographic Township of Onondaga. The subject lands are located on the west side of Brant County Road 18 with an approximate frontage of 380 meters and an approximate area of 10.8 hectares. These subject lands contain an existing single detached dwelling, a detached garage, and an accessory structure. The applicant is proposing to sever a parcel with an area of approximately 0.6 hectares and a frontage of 49.4 meters. The retained lands are expected to have an area of approximately 10.2 hectares and a frontage of approximately 330.6 meters. The subject lands are designated rural residential and natural heritage within the County of Brant official plan. And lands to be severed are zoned as rural residential with a site-specific provision 58, RR-58. The site-specific provision is to permit a rear yard setback of 75 meters in order to protect the natural heritage feature located at the rear of the subject lands, and zoned natural heritage within the County of Brant zoning bylaw. The retained lands are zoned as agriculture with site-specific provision 186, A-186. The site-specific provision is to permit an undersized farm parcel of 10.2 hectares. All development standards are being satisfied for the respective zones. No public comments were received at the time of writing the report. It is my professional opinion that the requested severance application is consistent with the provincial policy statement, the growth plan for the Greater Golden Horseshoe, conforms to the County of Brant official plan, and maintains the County of Brant zoning bylaw. I am therefore recommending approval of the severance application B4722SL, subject to the attached conditions. Thank you, and happy to answer any questions.
Does the committee have any questions or comments from staff? Appears not. I do have a point of clarification, McKin, Shannon. You have, through the zoning, went ahead and made it an undersized farm. Therefore, a minor variance isn't needed, which we have done in previous meetings, stating that it is. Does that zoning cover off that part?
That is correct, yes.
Okay.
So the application went for a rezoning prior to, and that's where the site specifics were established.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thanks.
Any other questions for staff? Okay. Is the agent or applicant present to make a presentation or add details at this time?
Yes, good evening, everyone. My name is Christian Simonides. I'm a planner with IBI Group representing our client, who is the owner of the subject property. I'm also joined by my colleague Douglas Stewart, who will provide additional support if there are any questions or comments that are raised by the committee or members of the public. So our team has had the opportunity to review the report that was prepared by staff, and we fully support the recommendation for approval and have absolutely no concerns. At this time, I have no further comments, but I'll stick around to answer any questions that are again raised by the committee or members of the public. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, does the committee have any questions or comments for the agent or the applicant at this time? All right. I do not believe there's any public delegations for this one. Therefore, are there any final questions or comments to staff or the agents, applicants on this submission? I did have one comment I talked to Shannon about earlier, and it was just that when we generally give a consent for a severance, that it's stated in there that it would be on privately served, that there would be a portable water source confirmed prior to, but Shannon said that that is built into the building plan and has at that point will be addressed. So, all right. If there's no more questions, Then I request a mover and seconder to put forth a motion on this application. Mr. Emmett? Seconder? Member Zuloff?
It's moved by myself, seconded by member Zuloff, that application B 47-22-SL be approved for the reasons that were on the application form. Printed.
Yep, and the conditions that are included.
And the conditions that have been approved.
Excellent. All right, I will now call for a vote. Members indicate if they're in favor of the motion put forth by member Emmett. Okay, Mr. Emmett?
Yes.
Zuloff?
Yes.
Vamus?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
Hamilton, yes. The application has been carried and approved to go forward, so. I will now introduce item 6.4, application B 22-22-SL, and turn it over to staff for the presentation on the report and recommendations.
Thank you. An application has been received from agents Trevor Hawkins and Kate Wills on behalf of property owner 1778206 Ontario Inc., also identified as Chris Martin. This is a surplus farm dwelling severance for lands located at 440 German School Road within the Geographic Township of South Dumfries. These subject lands are located on the south side of German School Road with an approximate frontage of 825 meters and an approximate area of 107.6 hectares. These subject lands contain an existing single detached dwelling and 7 accessory structures. The applicant is proposing to sever a dwelling deemed surplus to their farming operation with an area of approximately 0.9 hectares and a frontage of 79.2 meters. The retained land are expected to have an area of approximately 106.7 hectares and a frontage of approximately 708.5 meters. The subject lands are designated agriculture and natural heritage within the County of Brantford official plan. The lands to be severed are within the agricultural land use designation. These subject lands are zoned as agriculture and natural heritage within the County of Brantford zoning bylaw. The lands to be severed are zoned as agriculture. All development standards for the agricultural zone are being satisfied. No public comments were received at the time of writing the report. Once the report was finalized, I did receive a public comment in support of the severance application. It is my professional opinion that the requested severance application is consistent with the provincial policy statement, the growth plan for the Greater Golden Horseshoe, conforms to the County of Brantford official plan, and maintains the intent of the County of Brantford zoning bylaw. I am therefore recommending approval of the severance application B22-22SL, subject to the attached conditions. Thank you, and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Shannon. Does the committee have any questions for staff on this application? Okay. Is the agent or applicant present to make a presentation or add any details to what Shannon has already said?
Hi, yes I am. My name is Kate Wills from MHBC Planning, representing the applicant on this application. I just want to say thank you to staff for their presentation and your work on our application to date. We have received and reviewed the staff recommendation and only have one item of concern that was listed as one of the conditions, and that's related to the requirement for the parkland dedication. We are reviewing the staff report and note that there's a condition of approval which requires payment of the parkland dedication fee. This requirement has not been requested through our other conditions of approval for similar applications for farm lot severance. And it's our understanding that the purpose of parkland dedication is to allow the county to ensure that the park system grows along with the community. And in this case, there are no new dwelling units being proposed or created through this severance. The retained lot will be used strictly for farming, and there will be a minor zoning amendment required to prohibit any dwelling units being any dwelling units that could be proposed. So with that being said, I kindly ask that staff and the Committee of Adjustment consider the removal of this requirement, as there are no new units being proposed on the site, and therefore parkland dedication shouldn't be needed, as nothing is growing. It's just simply an action to sever the lot for the purposes of a larger farming operation. Thank you.
Thank you. I guess with that request, what is staff's position?
If the committee sees fit to remove that condition, that's perfectly fine.
All right, so committee, think about that, and do we amend by eliminating that condition from the application? Member Amos? Okay.
Sorry. Yeah, through the chair to the committee, I recommend leaving condition number 8 in place. As I mentioned earlier, there's no proposed new development now, but there may be in future years.
Okay, maybe just for clarification, Shannon, can you let us know this, the parkland the parkland fee is against the house that is being severed off, or is it against the retained lands?
It's for the severed parcel.
So it's only on the severed parcel, the house and buildings that are currently there. The other thing I think maybe we need clarification on, where maybe John's coming from, is I do believe there's a minor variance that needs to be that is put on in that condition that is equivalent to an A9, where there can be no further building in the future on the retained lands or any of that farmland. Is that correct?
Through the chair, it will prevent the construction of a dwelling. However, buildings related to the agricultural operation can be constructed.
An accessory building then?
Correct.
Okay. Does that help the committee understand things? Are there any questions for the applicant or agent from the committee right now? Mr. Emmett?
Yeah, on my drawing, it's something about buildings to be removed on the retained. How many buildings are going to be removed?
I can answer that question through you, Chair. It'll only be the one building removed that is identified as to be removed on the plan.
For clarification, is that the greenhouse?
I believe so, yes.
Thank you. Any other questions for the agent or applicant at this time from the committee? I do not believe that we've got a delegation here. So are there any final questions or comments to staff or the agent and applicant at this time from the committee? Appears not to be. Then I request a mover and a seconder to put forth a motion on this application. Member Schmidt. And seconder? Member Emmett. Go ahead, Steve.
Thank you, Chair. It is moved by myself and seconded by Member Emmett that the application B22-22-SL be approved with the list of conditions being included.
Okay, just for clarification, so you are going to keep in the one for the parkland, or are we having amended ones here? I leave it to you. It's your motion.
I will say we take out number 8.
Okay, so you're amending it by taking out number 8. Okay. Just so everybody's clear of what we're voting on. Okay. All right, I will now call for a vote on the amended conditions for this application. Members, please indicate if you're in favor of the motion. Member Emmett?
Yes.
Member Zuloff?
Yes.
Member Schmidt?
Yes.
Member Vamus?
No.
Member Hamilton? Yes. The motion has been carried and the application has been approved.
Thank you for your time.
You're welcome. Okay. Introduce item 6.5, application A30-22-AA, and I want to turn it over to staff for the presentation of the report and the recommendation.
Good evening, Committee of Adjustment and members of the public. This is a minor variance application for the lands located at 670 Bishopsgate Road, Unit 6 within the area of Falkland. The subject lands are located on the south of King Edward Street, on the east side of Bishopsgate Road, having frontage along the east side of Bishopsgate Road. The minor variance is to permit an accessory structure height of 6.57 meters, whereas Section 4 of the bylaw states a maximum height of 5.0 meters. The proposed accessory structure is for a detached garage to be used only for parking of vehicles and personal use. No home occupation or residential unit are proposed in the structure. The reason for the height variance is for the garage to be in line with the current dwelling. The subject lands are designated hamlets and villages within the County of Brant official plan. The minor variance is in conformity with the County of Brant official plan for the following reasons. Hamlets and villages designation allows for residential uses, and no new designation is being sought. The subject lands are zoned special exception residential hamlets and villages within the County of Brant zoning bylaw. The proposed garage is permitted within the residential hamlets and villages zone. All other requirements for an accessory structure as per the bylaw are being satisfied. No public comments were received at the time of writing this report. I am in support of this variance application as it is in keeping with the intent and purpose of the official plan and zoning bylaw. The request is minor in nature and will not impact adjacent land uses. I'm recommending approval of the minor variance application. Thank you and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Does the committee have any questions or comments to staff on this application?
Through the chair to the staff. I just had a question with the archaeological assessment. I guess we got these revised materials here. It sounds like you're proposing to remove that condition, is that correct, from the application?
Through the chair to Member Zuloff, yes, they're removing the condition.
So what is the reasoning here? Because I do see in that email from Matt Vaughn that, okay, if there's, okay, that, if there's been extensive disturbance of the soil recently, then an archaeological assessment is not required. But I do see from Matt's email that it says generally a licensed archaeology that would make that assessment. Doesn't appear that that's been the case here. As an archaeologist made that assessment?
Through the chair to Member Zuloff, they have not, it's not within the archaeological area. However, when it was circled to the First Nations community, they had requested it previously, but after chats with staff with Supervisor Matt Vaughn, it was demonstrated that it was no longer required.
So is that because of the, that the applicant, is this because of what's mentioned in these emails that we have in our amendments, that it's because there have been extensive soil disturbance recently? Well, that's not the same as it not being in the archaeological area, though, is it?
Yeah, so it's they are permitted to request that due to just when any disturbance with soil. However, due to the fact that it's been a recent disturbance, it was deemed not necessary.
Who determined there's been a recent disturbance, and what was that disturbance?
The plan of condominium has just recently, it was just recently built, so it's a new built area.
Okay, just want to get some clarification on that.
Yeah, for sure.
One other question I had, the materials mentioned there's no other accessory structures at the moment on the property, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just wondering, maybe it's not a structure then. I just noticed in our materials on page 126, it looks like there's a structure there in the driveway, but maybe that's a vehicle. Do you know what that is, any chance?
Through the chair to Member Zuloff, when I had my site visit there didn't seem to be a structure. There wasn't any other accessory structures, so I'm not too sure.
Okay, so there's definitely nothing there.
I think
now.
the applicant is with us, so maybe he could speak to that.
Maybe I can ask them then. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for staff? All right. Is the agent or applicant present that wants to make a presentation or add any additional details to this application?
Good evening, Chair and members of committee. My name is Ruchika English and I am the applicant on behalf of this application. Hope you can hear me okay.
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. So I do not have a presentation. I think staff has done a great job in making that presentation about the purpose of this application. So I would not repeat and provide the same information to the committee. The two questions that have been asked, I'll give a little brief on the requirement for archaeological as well. The lot has, it is a part of plan of condominium. The condominium itself had gone through an official plan amendment, a zoning bylaw amendment, and ultimately a plan of condo prior to any building permits were issued. So throughout a number of planning processes, since this area is not identified in archaeological significance in the current official plan, no archaeological assessment was completed. Further, once we received comments from Mississauga's Credit First Nations, there had been some extensive discussions between ourselves and Matt Wan as well as county staff, and further they had discussions from the commenting agency, and it was discussed and decided that archaeological no longer is required as the development has advanced at a very later stage now. The application's only for a garage. The soil has already been disturbed, so the requirement for archaeological was waived. In terms of any other structures other than the existing house at this time, there are no other structures on the property. And I'm happy to answer any further questions committee or members of public may have.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Does the committee have questions or comments for the agent and the applicant at this time? Member Emmett?
Yes, the reason for the extra height on this building, it's just, they're basically just for passenger cars for height on the inside of the building. So is there, could we come up with a different plan so the roof isn't quite as high?
Through you, Chair, to Member Emmett. The height of the structure is proposed so that it gives that aesthetics to the property itself with the existing house, and the additional height is simply for aesthetics. There's nothing else that is proposed. We provided renderings and elevations to show how the structure will look like, and I believe maybe staff can let us know if that was circulated along with the planning application, the original application that was submitted. And it's simply for aesthetics, and it has, to match the height of the existing structure. The owner is also present with us, and if there are any further questions, I would have them speak about it.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions to the applicant or the agent at this time? Member Amos?
Yes, through the chair to the applicant or agent. So this accessory structure is to be a garage? Three-car garage?
Through you, Chair, that's correct.
And the house already has a three-car garage? So we're looking at 6-car garage.
Through you, Chair, that is also correct.
And so will there be any water or hydro running to this accessory building? Because from the
Through you,
diagrams.
Chair, I would.
Sorry.
Hey guys, I can
Sorry.
jump in here. Sorry. Thanks for Chica. It'll just be hydro. And yes, it's just for passenger vehicles instead of a large shed that I was going to build. My wife and I decided that this would be a more practical use for our property. So it will house a couple. I have a classic car that's going to be housed in there seasonally, as well as lawn tractor, kids bikes, hockey equipment, soccer equipment, you name it. So the more space, storage space that we can have that's usable, we felt like this would made the most sense for the property.
One more question. Will it'll be heated? Will it?
It will not be heated.
No. Thank you.
Thank you for those questions. Are there any more questions to the agent, applicant, or staff at this time?
Just a quick question to the owner. So I had a little bit of trouble understanding the agent, to be honest. But what is the reason for the extra height? Is there going to be like shelving above there to store things? I'm just not quite sure why it's necessary to go above the zoning bylaw. Maybe you can explain.
Yeah. So the neighborhood this is a condo neighborhood. I don't know if anyone has actually been through there or not. It's a private road. There's 9 executive lots that have been created. I believe all lots are at least an acre and a half in size. So the homes that are being built are all large executive homes. Ours is actually probably one of the smaller ones, quite honestly, with you on the street itself. And the purpose of the extra height is to simply match the roof line with the existing garage that is attached to the house, because this detached garage is going to be perpendicular essentially to the existing garage, and we did not want the new structure to look misplaced next to the original structure. So the extra height is simply matching the roof lines and the height in the actual garage itself.
Does that help, Zula?
Yep.
All right. I believe there's no delegations to speak to this application, so are there any final questions or comments to staff and agents at this time for this application? Appears not. I request a mover and a seconder to put forward a motion on this application. Anybody wish to put forward a motion? Mr. Vamus, Member Vamus?
Yes. I would like to make a motion to deny application A30-22-AA.
All right, do I have a seconder? Member Zuloff? So do you want to maybe move that with the seconder, please, John?
Yes. Moved by myself, Member Vamus, and seconded by Member Zuloff, that application A30-22-AA be denied.
And the reason for that, John?
It's just it's oversized for the area. It seems excessive.
Okay. Thank you. All right.
Are we allowed to speak about this any further? Because I'm struggling with this one. Have we been down has anyone been down the street at all?
Yes.
Anyone? And the individuals that voted to deny the application. They've been down the street. We fall within the regional plan, significantly within the plan for the size of lot that we have for the secondary dwelling structure that we're trying to build. It's actually smaller, much smaller than what we would be able to propose if we wanted to. We just want the height change. So we could actually have a much larger footprint without having to go through this process and just have a slightly shorter roof line. All we're requesting is a slightly higher roof line that matches the home. So I'm really struggling to understand the logic behind this one.
You've put it towards the committee. The committee is looking at it. They put forward a motion. We have not voted on that motion. It will be voted on shortly, but what we are voting on is what you and your agent put forward to staff. And this committee then will make a decision when I call for the vote in the next second.
Okay, thank you very much.
I will now call for the vote. Members, please indicate if you're in favor of the motion to deny the extra height on this garage. Member Emmett?
Yes.
Member Zuloff?
Yes.
Member Vamus?
Yes.
Member Schmidt?
Yes.
Member Hamilton? No. The motion has been denied, and therefore we will move on to our next item on the agenda. Well, yeah, motion's been carried for the denial. Sorry. I want to introduce item 6.6, application A9-22-LG, and turn it over to staff for a presentation on the report and recommendation.
This is a minor variance application for lands located at 88 Harrisburg Road within the Geographic Township of South Dumfries. The subject lands are located south of Burlington Street and east of Harrisburg Road. The subject lands are rectangular in shape and have an approximate frontage of 40.23 meters on Harrisburg Road. The area in an area of approximately 2,225.77 square meters. These subject lands contain one existing dwelling. The surrounding area consists of predominantly low-density single detached dwellings, and untraveled right-of-way abuts the subject lands to the south, and the subject lands are on private services. The minor variance application is requesting relief from Section 8, Table 8.2.1 of the zoning bylaw 6116 to permit a reduced street setback of 4.46 meters, whereas a minimum of 7.5 meters is required. The subject lands are designated as hamlet and villages and located within the hamlet boundary of Harrisburg. The subject lands contain a single detached dwelling, which is permitted within the designation and will continue to be used for residential purposes. The subject lands are zoned as rural hamlets and villages within the County of Brant zoning bylaw 6116. The existing front yard setback is considered legal nonconforming, as the existing street setback is 7.16 meters. All other requirements of the zoning bylaw are being met. No public comments were received as part of the public circulation. Review of this minor variance application has had regard for the 4 tests as set out in Section 45.1 of the Planning Act, and comments received as part of the technical circulation. The relief requested is considered minor in nature, is desirable for the appropriate development and use of the subject land. The proposed variance is in keeping with the general intent of the official plan and zoning bylaw. The proposed variance meets the four tests of the Planning Act. It is my professional recommendation that the minor variance application A2922 LG be approved. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Does the committee have any questions or comments to staff at this time on this application? Member Emmett?
Through you to staff, this extra front porch on the front of the house, it'll be no closer to the road than some of the other existing houses in the area, I believe. Am I right?
Through the chair to Member Emmett, yes, you are correct. That is very typical of the houses in the area.
Thank you.
Any other questions for staff? I do have one quick one just for clarification. The minor variance is strictly for the front porch. It's got nothing to do with the addition and the porch to the side, correct?
Yes, so the setback, it is solely for the front porch. The porch on the side will meet the requirements.
Thank you. Is the agent, applicant, present for this presentation to add any details at their request for this application?
The applicant, terrible internet, don't, if, and,
Could you repeat that, please? It would come kind of through a little statically.
I have very bad internet. I don't know if I can answer, but I will.
All right, you will try if we have any questions. You can call in if you need to direct. There is a direct line, I believe. Lisa says. Would that help? If there's any questions, let me put it to the committee first to see. Does the committee have any questions or comments for the agent or applicant at this time? There appears not to be. I do not believe there's a delegation for this application, so what we will do is, are there any final questions or comments to staff or the agent that the committee would like to put forward at this time? Appears not. So with that, and to help out with our applicant here, I request a mover and seconder to put forward a motion on this application. Member Schmidt and Member Zuloff, please.
Thank you, Chair. It is moved by myself and seconded by Member Zuloff that application A29-22-LG be approved, including the list of conditions.
Okay, and it's minor variance, so and it's minor and
it's yes.
And minor as well. Okay, thank you. I will now call for the vote. Members indicate and if you're in favor of the motion. Member Emmett?
Yes.
Member Zuloff?
Yes.
Member Vamus?
Yes.
Member Schmidt?
Yes.
Member Hamilton, yes. The application has been carried. The minor variance has been approved. All right, that is the end of the Committee of Adjustment meeting right now. I just want to say there'll be no meetings in October and November while the county prepares for the municipal elections, which are happening in the next little while. The next meeting is expected to be on December the 15th, 2022. It will also be a hybrid meeting starting at 6 p.m. Okay, may I have a motion to adjourn the Committee of Adjustment meeting? We will follow this up afterwards with the two fence variances. Motion. Member Zuloff? Okay, and seconder for that? Emmett, Member Emmett?
Moved by myself and seconded by Member Emmett that the meeting of September 15th, 2022 be adjourned.
All those in favor, please show a hand. I now declare the meeting for the Committee of Adjustment adjourned. We are now moving to hear the fence variance application scheduled this evening, noting that Member Zuloff has declared a conflict of interest in both applications. Okay. All right, I would like now to introduce item 6.7, and that's FV1-22-AA, and turn it over to staff for a presentation on this report.
Good evening, Committee of Adjustment and members of the public. This is an objection hearing for a minor variance application for the lands located at 94 Willits Crescent within the area of St. George. The application for a fence variance was received from the property owner at 94 Willits Crescent to permit an 8-foot wooden fence to be constructed along the rear property line, whereas a maximum 6-foot high fence is permitted. The applicants are requesting the additional height for increased privacy and aesthetic purposes. The subject lands are located on the south side of Willits Crescent, east of Southampton Drive, in a residential subdivision. The property abuts an easement on the rear yard owned by Imperial Oil. The surrounding area contains residential units on the front and landscaping along the back of the property. The subject lands are designated urban residential in the County of Brant official plan and are zoned special exception residential singles in the County of Brant zoning bylaw. The notice of variance was circulated to all abutting properties which the proposed fence will share. A notice of objection was received from the abutting property owner at 92 Willits Crescent. Details of the objection can be found in the report. Staff are requesting for a decision on the fence variance application based on the information included in the report. The committee can approve, defer, or refuse the application. As part of the decision, the committee may also add conditions where considered appropriate to the nature of the application. Thank you and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Does the committee have any questions or comments to staff on this fence variance? Member Emmett?
So which part of the fence are we discussing tonight? Just the rear property line, or is it all the way around?
Through the chair to Member Emmett, it's just the rear property line.
And so to add that, is that next to the Imperial Oil easement then?
It abuts the easement on Imperial Oil.
That's all we're discussing tonight then?
Okay.
Supposedly. Thank you.
Any other questions to staff on this application or variance? If not, is the applicant present to make a presentation or add details to their request at this time?
Hi, yes. Good evening, Chair and members of the committee. I am the applicant, Dustin Leopard, and I have no additional comments.
Thank you. Does the committee have any questions for the applicant at this time? I do have a question then I'd like to put to the applicant. Are you planning on completing the lower part of the rear fence that goes up against Imperial Oil at some time in the near future?
No, sir.
Okay, so you're saying no, you're not going to.
Not in the near future.
Okay. Distant future?
Maybe. I haven't really thought about it.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for the applicant? Is the objector present to speak on this fence variance? Okay. Would you like to come to the front up here, Armo is, and explain your side, please?
We are the neighbors of Mr. Leopard. We're at 94 Willis Crescent. We have put in the objection, and we're willing to remove our objection if this lower portion of the fence can be filled in a timely and proper manner with the same type of material and structure that we do on the top of the fence. We don't feel that having over 2 feet of space underneath the fence can secure our backyard to animals and children. We would also request that the stakes and property markers that have been placed in front of the yard be removed.
Is your mic on, sir? Just push it to the green light.
Green light now.
Thank you.
No, you didn't know. I'm new to this. So, no, we liked the lower portion of the fence closed in. It's been over 2 years now that we've been dealing with this fence having up to 28 inches of space underneath the fence to the top of grade. This is not securing our backyard in any way, shape, or form. We've had foxes, we've had rabbits enter our property. We do have a 4-year-old child. The applicants do have 2 younger children, which are younger than that. And we feel to have a properly done fence, you don't need 2 feet of space underneath it. And as well, we've also asked the condition of closing in the space between our gated fence on that side and the 6 inches that is over to his property line. So we would encroachment of that to secure our backyard, so there's no chance of animals or people being allowed to get in.
Okay, thank you for that. Any questions to the objector at this point from the committee? I have a question for you, sir. The fence that was built is not on your property, correct?
Correct.
You did not put anything towards that fence, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And therefore, the fence is there on the applicant's thing all and at his cost. So I just wanted to confirm that in my mind. I do have a second question. Have you attached any boards to his fence?
No, Your Honor.
I have pictures here showing.
They are not attached to his fence. They're only on our side, and they go towards his, but they are not physically attached to his fence. Okay. And those boards have been removed as well.
They have been removed. Okay.
Yes, they have.
No, because I seen them there when I was out inspecting it. It appeared that I could not see them. So okay, so you have removed those.
Yes, and they weren't. What it was a small, roughly 2-foot piece of fencing that I secured on our side going towards his, but was not physically screwed or nailed or anything towards his property. So.
But it was over the property line,
yes,
touching to his. Okay, so you removed that.
Yep, that has been removed.
All right, thank you. Are there any other questions from the committee at this time about this fence variance? We can, as a committee, add conditions to that if we wish, or we can just vote upon the thing right now. And when we vote on it or make a motion, it's either to approve it, to defer it, or refuse the application currently that's before us right now. So with that, are there any other questions?
Through you, Mr. Chair, just looking for staff or perhaps bylaw to verify and confirm to the committee which portion of the fence was appealed by the resident.
Sure, I can do that. It is the fence between 92 and 94 Willets. It is not the fence that is shared with Imperial Oil. It's between 92 and 94 Willets.
And with that, is it the complete fence or only a portion of it?
If you refer to the photographs, the front portion of the fence at grade is acceptable. However, as it goes towards the rear of the property, it maintains a height which is unacceptable. That's where the extra portion is at the bottom of the fence, and that's where it's outside of the bylaw regulations.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions to bylaw officials from the committee at this time? Okay. Are there any final questions for any of the members, the applicant, the objector, or the bylaw officers at this time? Okay, thank you.
Yes, like I might add, we are willing to withdraw our objection if those three conditions of the fence being completed were allowed to encroach the 6 inches and the property stakes at the front of the property are put into the conditions of approval. We would withdraw our objection to the fence property.
Member Emmett?
Just wondering if we could have the applicant respond to the appellant's conditions, whether he'd be willing to close in the bottom of the fence.
All right, with that, I will put it forward to the applicant if he would like to make a comment on that.
Hello?
Yep, go
yes,
ahead, Dustin.
we don't have a problem closing in the bottom of the fence.
All right, that is good to know. So what does what was with the what was the other you wanted the bottom closed in? What other two?
The tripping and
that piece of wood between the two posts out front.
Just actually the property stakes and the steel stake in the front property. With kids running around, we're afraid that someone might trip over and impale themselves. And if something does happen, we'd like to know if those are left in there, who's responsible because it's on the property line. Is it their people that get sued, or is us that get sued?
I'm not a lawyer.
I know. That's why I'd like to just get them removed, and then we have no problems with that. And the third one was the encroaching 6 inches onto their property, about 2 feet past their gate, just to close off our opening between our gate post and their fence.
Just above the tripping piece of wood, you're saying?
The tripping piece of wood was removed this morning.
Okay, so that has been out of there. So really what it is if I can rephrase this and both the applicant and the objector, if you can make sure that I've got this clear. If you will drop the minor variance objection, if the back portion is filled in and then the between the two gate posts is filled in to stop anything going back into the I'm looking at this picture here. Is this the one? On page 16, fellas, is what I'm looking at. Is that the one where you're saying?
Yes, correct. We're the house on the left and there's just the house on the right. So yes, it's just we would attach to ours as well. We wouldn't have to attach anything to their fence. I could just close up, put a piece of wood that abuts up to it. Doesn't have to be screwed up to theirs or nothing.
This post on the left is yours, and it's on the property line.
Yes, it is.
The one on the right, and you can, Mr. Lippard, can confirm, is the one that you put in originally, and it is 6 inches off the line, completely on your property. So the two conditions that are being proposed here, and we're looking at trying to come to a resolution, is if it was the back of the fence was bottom part was filled in with equivalent lumber and boards and design, as well as putting a 6-inch or whatever the distance is between the post of your neighbors, attaching it to your fence. Is that what I'm hearing is what the proposal is, I guess, from the objector, and therefore would drop the fence variance? What is the feeling of the applicant?
So I don't have a problem taking out the property stakes at the front, even though we were thinking next year to maybe installing more fence up between the two houses, further up towards the front. But that can all be measured again after, so that's not a big deal. Not a huge fan of, I would say, of letting them attach to our fence, but
would it have to be attached to his fence post, or could you attach it from your fence coming across to meet his post but not attached to it?
Is that for me?
Yeah, I'm asking you, Mr. Lerner.
So I have to close it off? Is that what you're?
What? No, that's what I'm asking. It is on your property, correct? That
Correct.
opening.
Yes, it's only there because I was asked to remove the posts that were originally installed on the property line. So that's why there's a gap.
Yes, we are aware of that. What we are here to find out about is if we approve the back end of yours, and if we can work through an amicable solution here where both parties are semi-satisfied.
I would say if he wants to do essentially what he did off of his gate post, yeah, that would be acceptable.
Okay.
Well, I guess I would have to do it because it's on my property.
Well,
if he would allow, I would do it, and he doesn't have to worry.
if the objector says if you would allow him, he would attach it to his post to fill in that gap.
Yeah, I'll just do it when I do the other.
Yeah, I think right now, I guess what we're looking at is.
I'm essentially just going to put a fence board up, and that's about it.
Correct. And you would finish off the lower end at the back, and you've already removed that one piece of wood that appears to could be a tripping thing. And if you could, pull those stakes to the front, or if you wanted to, you could probably drive a couple large spikes in the ground on that line below the grass line, and nobody's going to trip over it, and everything would work out, and you would have that for next year if you wish to extend it in any time in the future. Okay.
I'll just pull them out because that's where the hydro goes.
Oh, okay. You're, okay, that's fair. I was just looking for another alternative. All right, with that,
Just a sec here.
so I guess basically, right now, what we need to do as a committee is to put it forward. I would just like to confirm from the bylaw officer that the portion that is not on the bylaw or outside the bylaw is the back portion, which is high. So what we are actually doing is approving the height of that back end, correct?
That is correct.
All right. So with that, I think what we need to do is put a motion on the table as to what can be done. Can we put conditions?
We can put conditions. Conditions are to be imposed right away, and bylaw will enforce the variance if they're not completed, right?
Correct. Okay.
One last, we're just wondering.
Toward the fence. Sorry, we can only put the conditions toward the fence.
Right. We were just wondering how many spaces of the fence are they talking about? Because we were thinking anything that was greater than 6 inches.
It will be up to the bylaw officer who will assess which parts are above the current one. And that is what we're voting on tonight, is if we approve that. But we can, I believe, put a condition forward if the committee wants to on the two previous things that we talked about.
To the chair, the stakes, the property stakes would not imply with the fence bylaw.
No, that's a separate one. We're only talking about the fence. So, what is the committee's thoughts? Mr. Emmett.
Well, I'd be prepared to make a motion to approve the fence subject to the condition that the 6-inch gap be completed and the gap under the fence be completed up until it's 6-inch gap. Is that what the bylaw would make?
8 foot to grade.
8 foot to grade? Okay.
All right. And it's to be enforced by the bylaw officer. It'll be handled by yourself, correct? A seconder to that motion? Seconder? Yes, no? Okay, seconded by Mr. Schmidt. Do you want to put it forward, Member Emmett?
I'll attempt to, Mr. Chairman, subject to you helping me out or somebody if I forget something. Moved by myself, second by Member Schmidt, that application FV-22-AA be approved, subject to the 6-inch gap at the gate post be filled in, and that the gap under the fence towards the rear and up towards the front be to grade.
And inspected and approved by bylaw officer.
Correct.
Okay. All right, I will now call a vote on that, and all those in favor of that motion. Member Emmett?
Yes.
Member Vamus?
Yes.
Member Schmidt?
Yes.
Member Hamilton? Yes. Hopefully that is done. The application for the extra height has been approved with certain conditions. Okay, moving on to our final one. I want to introduce item 6.7, application V2-22-AA and turn it over to staff for the presentation of her report.
This is an objection hearing for a minor fence variance application for the lands located at 32 Vic Chambers Place within the Geographic Township of Paris. The application for a fence variance was received from the property at 32 Vic Chambers Place to permit a 12-foot wooden privacy screen to be constructed along the interior side and rear property line, whereas a maximum 6-foot high fence is permitted. The proposed wooden privacy screen is to be 6 feet in height, built on top of the existing 6-foot fence. The applicants are requesting the additional height for increased privacy. The subject lands are located at 32 Vic Chambers Place on the north side of Vic Chambers Place. The lands are located in a residential area abutting residential homes on Lauren Carr Drive and has frontage along homes on Vic Chambers Place. The subject lands are designated urban residential in the County of Brant official plan and are zoned special exception residential singles and semis in the zoning bylaw. A notice variance request was circulated to all abutting properties which the proposed fence will share. A notice of objection was received from the abutting property owners at 34 Vic Chambers Place and 73 Lauren Carr Drive. Details of the objection can be found in the report. Additionally, 4 other neighboring properties have provided public comments opposing the proposal. Staff are requesting for a decision on the fence variance application based on the information included in the report. Committee can approve, defer, or refuse the application. As part of the decision, committee may also add conditions which are considered appropriate to the nature of the application. Thank you. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Maybe before we get to the questions, I will ask bylaw to make comments as staff on the on this application as well, please, of what you've seen or what's there.
Through you, Mr. Chair, if I may address the committee. So initially, this came in as an inquiry to myself regarding the height of the fence posts, which are currently in place. I attended upon the scene to observe these fence posts, and at the time they were high, is what I would call them. There was another structure currently in place at one of the neighboring properties, and that has since been removed, but it's important to note that that was there. Essentially, what it appeared to be at the time was that one was attempting to go higher than the other. So one structure appeared to be 4 feet or so above the approved upon fence height of 6 feet, with these fence posts being greater than that 10-foot height in order to block that out. I attended to the address of 32 Vic Chambers and spoke with Miss Zatulski, who had a lengthy explanation as to why the fence posts were being erected. They had concerns about privacy and believed that it would be a privacy fence rather than a fence proper. I took that explanation back to myself and my supervisors, and we deliberated significantly along with our legal counsel and deemed it as a fence. Hence, the 6 feet, which is approved, was exceeded. I informed the Zatulskis that it was deemed as a fence and that it exceeded the 6 feet. I explained to them their options, and they chose to submit an application for a variance, and that is where we find ourselves now. The structure in place consists of approximately 5 posts spanning the distance of approximately 30 to 32 feet. Unfortunately, I haven't taken a measure of it, but in the package there's a diagram of what is shown to be 32 feet, I believe it is. the structure behind the applicant's structure has since been removed. That was in a separate instance. However, I believe that the goal of this applicant was to provide extra shelter from that structure, so it is important to say that that structure has since been removed. When the application, the notice of intent was sent out, we did indeed receive a significant number of objections, which was handled through Mrs. Seitz, and that brings us to tonight's hearing.
Thank you. Does the committee have any questions or comments on the information that staff has provided so far tonight? All right. Is the applicant present and want to make a presentation or add details to their request for this fence variance?
We are. Good evening to the committee. Can everyone hear me okay?
I can. Is everybody? Yep. Go ahead, please.
Just if I could elaborate a little bit on what bylaw, the information they provided. So it started with the neighboring property behind us put up a privacy fence, which only served as privacy for themselves. They could still be on the patio and look into our backyard very easily. It's important to note that we have two different kinds of backyards. Theirs is a walkout with a patio that comes off of their kitchen or whatever it may be, and they have approximately a 30-foot backyard, whereas we have a 50-foot backyard from fence to house. So there's a pretty significant difference in the depth of the backyard. So you get the impression that you're kind of being looked at over top, which is also why you got a large amount of people that have objected to it, because they all live on Lauren Card with walkouts. The neighboring property that at 34 that objected, he actually lives in Atlanta. That's a rental property. Doesn't mean he's not entitled to his objection. I understand that fully. To elaborate more on what we thought was going to be a privacy screen, we didn't anticipate it being deemed a fence. We had spoke to the county before we started. My wife's been talking to the county for 2 years probably about this. It's been an ongoing issue for a while, the feeling of not having any privacy. So we decided after the neighboring property behind us put theirs up, we thought, okay, well, since this is something that they seem to have the same issue with, we're going to put our own up. And we spoke to the bylaw, and we spoke to Amanda, and she said that as long as it was 3 feet away from the existing fence on all sides and its own structure, and there was no height limit on it. So we did some measurements and we calculated, and we figured if we went 12 feet at the lowest part, because you have to understand as well that the grade is not flat across the back. There's quite a slope from, say, the Rust Acres side down to the Lauren Card side. So where it would be 6 feet above the existing fence on one side, on the other side it could be as low as 4 feet, 4 to 5 feet. So it's not going to necessarily be a consistent 6 feet. It won't be attached to the existing fence, which is completely on our property. It was supposed to be decorative. We put up, we used 20-foot posts because we wanted to ensure that they were put into the ground deep enough. I've read all the objections, and the vast majority of them seem to be a safety concern about the wind just picking it up and moving it. It's built in line with the same specification that was used to build the privacy fence on Rust Acres that Sierra just built. 5 feet depth, bury depth, 6-foot post, 12-inch diameter hole. We used an auger. I had a 10-inch bit with a 2-man auger with a 10-inch bit and an extension to get the 5 feet down. It is not sturdy right now, and it looks awful right now because we set the posts, got a bag of cement in just to secure it, and then we got shut down. So now, since then, the posts have just been supported by wooden stakes. So the wind has taken them, the weather's got to them, and they don't look great. And that was another thing that was on the reports, is everyone's complaining about them. They are very high. They are always intended to be cut. We wanted them to be longer so we could cut the top off and not have to worry about not getting enough bury depth. I would have taken it 6 feet if I could get it 6 feet. It's purely about a privacy thing. Our neighbors behind us have shown a couple instances where they clearly aren't respecting our privacy, as they've made public Facebook posts about this fence, and additionally,
We're here to talk about the fence, please.
Okay, I'm just trying to justify why we're looking to have the privacy fence. Sorry if that's off topic. Yeah, so it's going to be 12 feet at the lowest spot, and then it will be less at the other side. We still have to complete it. I believe that's sort of all we have with regards to the fence. And again, we anticipated it being a privacy screen and not a fence. But I guess it was deemed as a fence. So.
Thank you. I just want to confirm once again with the bylaw officer, when you checked what the applicant wanted to do, it fell under a fence, not a privacy screen. Is that correct?
Yes, we had quite a lengthy deliberation with our legal counsel, and it was indeed deemed as a fence, not privacy screen, or privacy fence as per.
Thank you. All right, with that, are there any questions from the committee to the applicant at this time? Appears not to be. So is the objector present and willing to speak to this application? I do believe there are a couple, and therefore each individual that has been identified by Alyssa will have the opportunity, or if you're present in the at the meeting tonight. Okay, the first one will be Bradley Crane, and if he would come up and make a presentation or comments about this fence variance, please.
Is this on?
Is the green light on? Push the button and
yeah, there it is.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you for having me tonight. My name's Brad Crane. I live at 73 Lauren Carr Drive. I'm at the property that's right behind 32 Big Chambers Place. I'm here tonight because both my wife and I object to this fence variance for the following reasons. The proposed fence height we don't feel is minor in nature. 12 feet is extremely high. The county approves for a 6-foot fence, and this is double the height. We think it's going to be an eyesore, and it won't conform with the neighborhood or be aesthetically pleasing. If allowed, this is going to set a precedent for others to do the same. When does this stop? It's going to snowball out of control. We have some safety concerns, obviously. The height of the fence alone is 12 feet, and there's horizontal slats. Our backyards are like wind tunnels, so when the wind comes through, being a shallow yard that we have, it could rip off those boards and cause damage. We did have, as indicated, a structure behind there. It was lattice. Our intent was to have hanging baskets on it to grow plants and to have vines grow up. The neighbors behind us that are applying for this fence variance, they complained against our structure. So I gladly took it down and I planted trees along that property line. We made a garden. This structure, if allowed at 12 feet, will now block the sun. And that all those plants in our garden back there and our time that we spend back with our kids and our family, that's going to get taken away from us. It's also going to impact sunlight coming into our house because we picked this property in this lot for the sunlight, for the natural light and the health benefits and all that come with it. And this is now going to impede on that. As for his or their privacy concerns, the concern that they really have is only for one property. You live in a new build subdivision. There's houses all around you. Everyone can see down in everyone's property. It's the reality of new build subdivisions. They're just putting up a fence to try to block out one house. The people beside them, adjacent to us, you can still see. Finally, as indicated, you can see that there's many objections to this. It doesn't conform to the standards of Brant County. You have 6 in writing here today, and with talks to people in the neighborhood and our community, there's many more that have expressed their concerns verbally about the same way that we feel. And that's everything. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments with this objector from the committee? Or would you like to listen to all of them and then at that time, put forward questions? Okay. The second person?
We are not speaking. Okay. Then we can ask if anybody online would like to speak.
Okay, is anybody online not present here wanting to speak to this fence application? If so, please identify yourself with your name so that we can keep it on record and go forward with any comments or suggestions that you have concerning this variance.
Yeah, this is Michael Lowry from the 34 Vic Chambers. I'm online as well.
Please go ahead then.
Okay, thank you, Chair, and thank you everyone for the opportunity. So my house is just beside the 32 Vic Chambers, where this 12-foot high fence wants to be installed. So some of the posts are already installed. It would be great if the pictures are shown to people so people see what it really looks like. It's really scary. They are really, really high. So they're very concerning. Firstly, it violates the requirement for Brown County 6 feet within the rear yard. The second part is the safety concerns. You could see from the multiple rejection you have from all members of the neighborhood is that the Canada, like we know very well, I've lived in Canada now in the last 7 years. The snow, the high storm, so could fall from some of the high fence, and our yard is just beside them. So it could fall on kids. We have kids in the house, we have people living in the house, and it could be a serious safety concern. Even windstorm could could cause damage, and it could be very, very fatal and cause very fatal incidents in the house. I think the safety of the people, it's a beautiful neighborhood. People see the backyard of other people. When I'm making barbecue behind the house, the neighbor 32 Victor, they see it. The neighbor behind Lonka, they see it. It's a lovely community and neighborhood that it's surprising and very unfortunate that someone would want to build something that would create a kind of, like, I would call it like a prison yard mentality, which create the fence and you don't know what's going on. So I think the third reason I have here is that it will set a bad precedence because no house in that new subdivision has such thing. So if this is approved now, then somebody will ask for 18 feet fence. Somebody will ask for 22 feet. So what will be justification for not approving them? So I think it's going to set a very bad precedent. And like you know very well, it doesn't allow the airflow, breeze, allowing fresh air to the neighborhood, I think would also be impacted. And the last part is, I think it also affects the value of the home because from my dining, you could look at the fence and looking at the back. It's an ugly view. So I'm really requesting and I'm asking for an objection for this proposal. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you. Are there any other people objecting to this fence variance? And would you like to speak? Please state your name and where you live and make your comments, please.
There we go. My name is Mike Garside. My wife Deb and I live at 75 Lauren Card Drive. We are essentially kitty corner in the backyard of the property in question. When we look from our property over there, not only can we see, as they say, we can see their backyard, which is fine, but we also see the monstrosity of posts that are currently up. So, we're really envisioning now that, once they start putting fence boards on it, it's just going to look even worse. I know it's come up where it's really devaluing our properties in that area. Our neighborhood, as Mike alluded to earlier, is it's a very close-knit community. If I can put it that way, all the neighbors are very friendly. Everyone gets along. But with that said, if this does get passed, and my concern is that it is setting a precedence. Obviously, that whole subdivision went through a whole planning stage of the way these properties and these houses were going to be built and the structures that they were going to be on those lots. So that's already been passed, and obviously everything's been built. So my concern is now is as soon as we set a precedence for this, all of these lots all the way up between Lauren Card and Vic Chambers are all going to have these privacy fences or whatever you deem them as in between everyone's lots, which again is going to be even worse. Now you're into even more safety issues. You're into more aesthetic issues and obviously safety issues. So I thank you for your time, and hopefully everyone sees our point. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I will ask again. I don't believe there's any other objectors present that want to make any. Oh, there is. All right. I guess, yeah, we have here DJ Linkert. Do you want to make any comments about this application? If not, that's fine, but I'm just asking.
Hello, I'm here.
Okay, would you state your name, address, and give us your comments on this fence variance, please?
Yeah, it's DJ Linkert. I live at 17 Vic Chambers Place, which is just up the street from 32 Vic Chambers. I also live behind a one-story bungalow, so I'm just afraid if something like this does get approved, I don't want the people behind me to build something like this, because again, like it'll block the view of the neighborhood, and it's just like a safety concern, like everybody else is mentioning as well. Yeah, so.
Okay, thank you for your comments. I will now put it to the committee. Do you have any comments to any of the objectors specifically, or a comment in generalities towards what they've put forward? Doesn't appear to be any comments. So I'm going to request a mover and seconder to put forward a motion to approve, defer, or refuse the fence variance application before us right now. As part of the decision, the committee may add conditions which are considered appropriate to the nature of this application.
Do I have an opportunity to just reply?
Yes, I'm sorry, Jay. Yes, if you would like to make comments on anything that you heard there, keep it, I guess, general, not specific, and you've got yourself 2 or 3 minutes to do that, please.
Okay, just a few points that they spoke about, which I just want to address. They're talking about 12 feet being very, very high. The existing one was 10 and a half feet. Nobody said anything about that. That wasn't a problem. Precedence, I understand. There's another one that was already approved and had a minor variance in Brant County on 26 Robbins Ridge. I have a picture. It was included in our package, so there already is precedence. And my feeling is that I understand 72 or 73 and 75 and 71 all don't want privacy fence because it takes away their view of all our backyards. So I get it. That makes sense to me why they don't want it, as they're stating. And finally, it's not complete. It's not even close to complete. So everyone keeps talking about how unsafe it is and how ugly it looks like right now. It does. It's hideous. I hate it. It looks ugly in my backyard because it's not even close to being complete. The posts aren't even secure in the ground. They have one bag of concrete in them. They should have fallen over already if they hadn't. Like, it's completely unsafe the way it is right now. I'm going to make it safer. So I do want to address that. Yes, it looks awful right now because there are 20-foot posts that have not been cut to the proper height yet. That's all I wanted to clarify.
Thank you for that clarification. All right, I think we're at a point where decision has to be made, and I will just say I will request a mover, seconder, to put forward a motion to either approve, defer, or refuse this fence variance application. So I put it to the committee to make a motion, please. Member Vamus.
Yes, to the chair. I'd like to make a motion to deny application FV2-22-AS because it negatively affects the sightlines of the neighbors.
And do I have a seconder? Member Emmett. All right, I will take that motion. It is to deny the application, and I will now put it to a vote. And members, please indicate if you're in favor of the motion that was put forward. Member Emmett?
Yes.
Member Vamus?
Yes.
Member Schmidt?
Yes.
Member Hamilton? Yes. We've made the decision to refuse the application for the additional height on the fence, and I will turn it over and ensure that bylaw follows up with that, please. All right, with that being the final part of our decision, our meeting tonight, we've already declared it. I guess we don't need to declare it a second time. So I would ask Mr. Emmett, you want to make a motion to adjourn, please? Member Schmidt, all those in favor? All right. Thank you, committee. As you know, after tonight, there's the election on in the county, and there will be a new committee of adjustment, which may include you, coming forth for our December meeting. So with that, thank you for your efforts over the years, and appreciate your timeliness and listening abilities.